Episode 301, Harvey Learns Everything. Luke wasn't going to tell him anything, so he turned away and said, "I don't remember anything." Zach stared at him intently and looked through the little devices folder that he had snatched from Zach along with the notebook. As he searched, he said, "There are so many folders. The details must be in this device." When Luke heard this, his expression changed. When Harvey saw the folders, he grew angrier. He told Zach, "Investigate carefully. Don't make any mistakes." Zach nodded. He turned to a folder and was shocked when he opened it. There were thousands of photos, all of which belonged to Evelyn and a child. "Sir, there is something incredible here," Zach said with a strange look. He couldn't digest what he had just seen. Luke sighed deeply in his heart. They had found out. Zach handed the device to Harvey. Harvey looked at the photos and his face turned pale. He could not believe it. He gritted his teeth and said, "You and Evelyn have a child? Could it be that she didn't run away from Mark at all, but because she wanted to be with this person and even have his child?" Luke rolled his eyes. Was this man blind? Would he and Evelyn's child look like him? Luke wanted to tell him in a fit of anger that it was indeed his child, but this would affect Evelyn. Luke said with an unfriendly tone, "It seems like you don't have a good eye. Take a closer look at who that child looks like." Luke's words startled Harvey, who was initially very angry. He lowered his head and looked at the child again. With those eyes, thin lips, and a straight nose, the child resembled himself. His pupils contracted. Harvey couldn't say a word, and his breathing stopped. This child looked about 2 years old. Could it be that this was his and Evelyn's child? It had been more than 2 years since Evelyn had walked away from him. How could this be? Harvey murmured. It was a complete mess. He had a child with Evelyn. Harvey's mind was a mess. It was too hard to accept. Evelyn had left a letter for Mark at that time, and he had collapsed into a deep depression. He did not eat or drink for a few days and sat in the seaside house where the two of them last stayed. Then he made a plan to get back at her, not allow her to be happy alone. He took back the Cage family in the shortest time possible, changed the family, expanded the Cage group, and started looking for her everywhere possible. The woman betrayed him. The woman chose another man. When you catch her, punish her, hold her, and let her taste her pain. Harvey was tangled in these negative emotions, making him unable to let go. And just like that, 2 years passed. He found her and began to take revenge and torture her. But now, it seemed like everything he knew was false. As if it were another story unfolding before him, completely different from what he knew. And what was even more terrifying was that the story was probably the truth. Luke looked at his surprised expression and smiled coldly. "What's wrong, Harvey? Did that shock you? You have never considered the reasons behind why she left." Harvey felt as if he had been slapped in the face. He clenched his fists and lowered his head. "She left me a letter. She said she went to find Mark. Based on her hesitation at that time and her refusal of my proposal, it was completely reasonable." Luke's face turned cold. "Really? She broke into the Cage family's mansion to save you. But still, you doubted her love. Harvey, you never believed in her feelings. That's why you think she left you for Mark. It's not like that." Harvey shook his head. His mind and his thoughts were chaotic. He really couldn't understand. Didn't he believe in her feelings? No, he believed that she loved him. But he was afraid of falling in love with someone for the first time, of the relationship's failure. So when his fear became a reality, his disbelief in love solidified. Evelyn's departure was a great blow to him. Luke looked at Harvey coldly and said, "To tell you the truth, Evelyn was pregnant before she left the city. How could she go to Mark with such a secret?" When Harvey heard these words, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. She knew she was having her child and had no intention of aborting it, but she walked away from him. He really couldn't understand why. He loved her at that time and wanted to marry her. Why did she have to leave? Harvey looked up and asked Luke, "You know everything, right? You've been in contact with her all these years. Tell me, why did Evelyn leave?" "To protect your reputation and empire, I think," a voice came from the second floor. Harvey and Luke raised their heads at the same time. Luke looked at him and widened his eyes. "Mark, you truly are here." Zach also looked at him. His eyes fell on his feet. The ankle shackle. "Well, it was inconvenient for moving around, so I removed it," Mark said. Harvey did not care about the chain at all. He hurriedly asked, "Do you know why she left?" Why was he the only one who didn't know? Mark walked downstairs and looked at the photo. His heart hurt, but his lips curled into a gentle smile. "All these years we've been in each other's hearts. What she does is always to protect the people she cares about, so I know. Don't you think that if she had a child, your grandmother would use the same trick on Evelyn to gain control of her as she did with your parents?" Harvey froze. He remembered the day when Evelyn went to the old house, and her face didn't look good. He asked her, but she said it was nothing. She had asked him, "Harvey, the Cage group is essential to you, right?" Luke knew that it was better to tell the truth now that things had come to this. After all, Evelyn had Norwood with her. The child didn't have his father by his side since he was born, and it was time for her to stop drifting around like this. Evelyn wanted to protect the company for you, and protect her child. At first, she asked for my help to leave, but she was reluctant to give a reason. Later, I helped her settle in Ireland and learned the reason. I found out that Mrs. Cage threatened her and wanted her to have a child within 6 months. Your grandmother wanted to use the child to control you and even declared that Evelyn would only be allowed to give birth to a boy. Mrs. Cage said that she would poison the child in her womb if it was a girl. Evelyn did not want her child to be a pawn, or for you to lose your position, so she decided to leave. But Luke turned to Mark and said thoughtfully, "Mark, you too have caused too much pain for her. These 2 years, your sister was indeed worried about you. Now she has gone to find you." Episode 302, Atoning for His Sins. "What? Is my sister looking for me now? She doesn't know where I am. How can I find her?" Mark said, looking at the little child's picture that Harvey held. Luke nodded and quickly confirmed his thoughts. "Yes, your sister went with her child to find you. She said you and she had planned to go to places, and now she's visiting those places to search for you until she finds you." Mark found it hard to believe that his sister would bring his nephew to seek him. What the hell? When Harvey heard the whole story, he finally regretted being a bastard. He had never thought about it from Evelyn's point of view. She had said a long time ago that Mark was more important because he was family, and still he doubted her. He deserved for her to hate him, always. Harvey stood up, took a deep breath, and clenched his fists. "I want to go," he said. "She and the child will come back. It doesn't matter how much I have to atone for my sins, as long as she and the boy can come back." He bowed to Luke and said, "Please, help me contact Evelyn." Harvey had always been arrogant. Everyone in New York City knew how high and mighty he was. This bow was enough to show how sincere he was. He was genuinely regretful. He still loved her. But he had hurt her because of his pride and damaged emotions. He was the one who did not think of what was best for her. He made her wander alone with her child all these years, and he was the one who had made her suffer. As for himself, what right did he have? What right did he have to take revenge and hurt them? "I'm sorry," Luke said, interrupting Harvey's meditation. He shook his head and said, "I can't contact her anymore. When she left, I told her to contact me, but she couldn't get through to me. She has no other way to communicate." He took the card out of his pocket and put it on the table. He thought Evelyn wanted to set him free. She was afraid that he would not be able to get out of her world if she were too involved. Evelyn had always been worried about others. What a fool. Harvey looked at it and picked up the card. The city was on it. Melbourne. "She's in Melbourne now? I will find her," Harvey said hurriedly. Luke shook his head regretfully. I don't know if she's still there. Send someone to look for her. Melbourne was her first stop. She sent the postcard the day before yesterday. As for her next destination, I won't know until the next postcard. Maybe she left the city when she sent the postcard, Mark said. I don't know how long it will take to find her. Harvey held the card tightly and said firmly, I will not give up. This time I must apologize and tell her what I need to say in front of her. He would tell her that he still loved her, and that the reason he didn't cancel the engagement wasn't really because of revenge. That was just an excuse he found for himself. The real reason was that he genuinely wanted to marry her. Mark looked at Harvey, put his hand on his shoulder and said, Forget it. Although I am very unhappy with you, I can't see you get tortured like this. Hey, follow me to get my luggage. There's a list of cities that my sister and I plan to visit. After Mark finished speaking, he walked out of the room. Harvey quickly followed behind him. Outside, the sky was clear for miles. Mark was absorbing the fresh air of New York City as he muttered, This place is better. I know Evelyn wants to see you. I wanted to trick her into coming here in your name. She'll be so happy to see you. Mark nodded. Yes, I won't leave this time. Mark still felt uncomfortable. After all, he had thought for a long time that the partner he could spend the rest of his life with would be Evelyn. He had never thought he would lose to Harvey. However, he had been to many places over these years and learned that there were many ways to love. He still loved Evelyn, but his love was more mature this time, and he wanted to see her happy. Besides, she already had Harvey's child, so what else could he do? As long as she didn't hate him, as long as she cared about him, it was enough. Evelyn, I can now help you with your happiness, and though it is not mine to give you, I am happy for you. After Mark and Harvey left, Luke looked gloomily at Zach. Can I go now, Mr. Rough and Ready for a Fight? Zach felt very awkward and apologetic. A shocking turn of events. Initially, this person was the boss's rival in love, but he helped Harvey. Zach handed the notebook and the device to him and apologized. I have offended you, and I'm sorry. Our CEO was concerned about Miss Petal, and I accommodated his request. Huh, concerned? You were looking for an opportunity to seek revenge, weren't you? Luke deliberately harumphed. Zach smiled and said, Yes, it was revenge. Mr. Cage's office drawer, wallet, and even one of the rooms in the house are filled with her photos. The man still keeps her things. He sends people to clean her house. He even arranges maintenance of the graves of this woman's parents. Don't you think that's very strange? Luke was stunned. He turned around in a daze and asked, Hey, he sent people to sweep the tomb? Zach nodded with a smile. Yes, the weeds around there have been cleaned up and planted with daisies. Although it is a cemetery, it is lovely. Mr. Bigman, you can take a look next time. Mr. Cage planted those. Please rest assured he will treat Miss Petal well. After all, it was the only love he had in his life. Luke heard his words and lowered his head. He smiled and said, Is that so? If he will treat Evelyn well, that's good. I am satisfied. Then I can bear with the pain and let go. His dream was reaching its end. He had always known that he was not the main character in Evelyn's love story. Luke picked up his notebook and walked out of the Cage family's house. He refused Zach's offer to take him someplace. He wanted to walk alone. Episode 303. The Search Begins. At that moment, Evelyn and Norwood were sitting in a park in Melbourne. Evelyn said, Norwood, let's leave Melbourne tomorrow and go to the next city. Okay. Norwood nodded his head. Evelyn rubbed his hair, rolled her eyes, and said, Then let's draw lots to decide where to go. Okay. Harvey would never have thought that Evelyn and Norwood would decide by drawing the city randomly. Evelyn and the boy had already left Melbourne for Switzerland when Harvey got to Melbourne. Harvey had been looking for Evelyn in Melbourne for 3 days. After he was sure Evelyn had left, Harvey felt a little uncomfortable, but his mood did not last for long. Harvey hurried to the next stop. Luke had been staying in New York City to confirm Evelyn's whereabouts. He had said before that he was afraid that Harvey might not be able to find her. His secretary finally caught him and would not let him go this time. On the other hand, the Cage group was in a more chaotic situation. Harvey brought his men and left the entire Cage collection behind. He directly prompted Raquel as the vice president. He also told everyone in the company to report directly to Raquel until he returned. "Why don't we just sell the company?" In the vice president's office, Raquel threw a document onto the table angrily. What the hell was wrong with this unreliable cousin of hers? How could he leave such a mess for her and ask her to take over his job here? She did not want to do all his work right now. She only wanted to be Zach's wife. Zach, who was beside her, saw that she was annoyed. He made the drink she liked and gave it to her. "Be good," Zach said. "Don't be angry. He has his reasons." He lowered his head and continued to read the documents. Although his wife was the vice president, Zach understood what Harvey meant. The company was entrusted to him. If he didn't do it, his wife would have to do it, and he couldn't bear to let her do it. Raquel pouted and took a sip of the fragrant tea. She was still a little unhappy. "But what about us? You have to handle everything and you are tired. I originally wanted to ask Norman to help, but Harvey wouldn't let me." Zach laughed when he heard that. He reached out his hand and rubbed her hair. "Harvey is right. This place would become a mess with Norman involved. That brother of yours is known for jokes, fun, and crazy ideas, which don't have a place here." Raquel sighed. Her little brother was a terror, for sure, but the most unreliable one was still her cousin. If it weren't because he had once helped her, protected her husband, and eventually got the two of them married, she would never have agreed to this position. She wiped the sweat off Zach's face and said, "Zach, you have worked hard. I will make your favorite meal tonight, okay?" "The weather is so good. I want to have a date with my wife tonight. Let's go out and eat." Zach pushed his glasses up and showed his perfect smile to confuse his wife. He felt guilty in his heart. "I'm sorry, honey. It's not that I don't want to eat what you make. It's just that after I eat it, I'm always in a bad state." "Honey, you are so nice. You are always so considerate. Let's go out and eat. I love you so much," Raquel said to Zach affectionately. Mark decided to visit his home in New Orleans, where he had lived with his parents, the same city where he lived with Evelyn and her parents. Those were their parents. Although so many sad and painful things had happened there, it was still a place that gave him everything. After he got off the plane, Mark looked at the scenery. Some things had changed. Some hadn't. He walked down the road he had taken to school with her. When he returned to his own home, he found a place that had been burnt down. Later, he found someone to rebuild it, according to his memories, but he did not dare return to it. There was also the home where he once lived with Evelyn. It was as if people were still living there. Although these things still remained their memories, they made him feel like a lifetime had passed. Mark went to many places. The school he used to go to, the park he liked, and other locations. Mark thought that if he came back with Evelyn, he would probably see many familiar faces. He was a little regretful that he could not see any familiar faces, though the city felt familiar. The people in this city were complete strangers. He walked to a flower shop and bought 2 flowers. At dusk, Mark went to the cemetery. He first went to his parents' place to pay his respects. After putting down the flowers and talking about the past few years, Mark walked to the tombstone in front of Evelyn's parents. "Dad, Mom, I'm back. I'm sorry. I've been a coward all these years. I don't even dare to come back to pay my respects." With a heavy sigh, Mark put down the flowers and knelt. He told them about what had happened with Evelyn over the years. "Dad, Mom, I can put it down now. I'm very grateful that Mom knew that I liked Evelyn at that time and didn't stop me. Thank you. Not being able to become your son-in-law is the regret of my life. After knowing that Evelyn no longer belonged to me but another, I became furious. I thought of killing that guy. I'm joking. How could I do something that would make her sad? Dad, Mom, Evelyn's fiancé will not let her live a hard life. Don't worry. I will also watch him from the side. I will make sure that he treats her properly, or I will not forgive him. I can make sure of her happiness like this, and then my life will be meaningful. Harvey went from the next place from Melbourne. According to Mark's list, she should be in Fiji. However, when Harvey arrived in Fiji, he could not find anyone, even after 2 days of search. Harvey began to feel troubled. After hesitating for a while, he went to New Zealand. These 2 places were the nearest on Mark's list. According to Harvey's judgment, a place like New Zealand was a place that made people forget about going back, so she might stay for a while longer there than in the other spots. Harvey went to New Zealand and searched for Evelyn for 2 days without resting. But all he could find was disappointment. There was no trace of Evelyn and Norwood there. At the end of the 2 days, he received a call from Luke. Episode 304, Guided by Fate. I just received a postcard from Evelyn, from Switzerland. Luke looked at the postcard and said, I just don't know if she is still there. Switzerland? That place is so far away from Melbourne. How could she be there? Harvey found it hard to believe. Luke looked at the card and said, I don't know how she decided the place, but she's nowhere near Melbourne. Harvey hung up the phone. He had overtaxed himself these few days, and now he fell onto the bed and slowly closed his eyes. Was it because he wanted to see her, explain everything to her, see the child who had fused them? Was it the desire to bring them home that caused him to be so anxious? Even with his usual stamina, he felt tired. But it might not be possible to find her by chance, so he had to be prepared for a protracted campaign. In a daze, in the fragrant New Zealand air, Harvey fell asleep. In his dream, he saw his beloved again. This time, it was no longer a cold and desperate dream. It was not the rainy night when she ran away, not the morning when he got up and touched the cold bed and could not find her. This time, he dreamt of that day when they met in front of the coffee shop. Early in the morning, after the drizzle, he saw Evelyn in a beautiful red dress in front of the coffee shop. It was as dazzling as the sun. And that night, she tied the chain to his hand and said, Do you know the true meaning of this? Once the chain binds 2 people, they will not separate for life. In the morning, Harvey woke up to the fragrance of flowers. He blinked and said, What a great dream. Harvey got up and went to wash up in the bathroom. When he passed by the mirror and saw himself in it, he was shocked. Was this him? He was unshaven and did not look like the CEO of the Cage Group at all. He had always been in his best form in front of her. He had been looking for his fiancée like crazy these past few days. Harvey looked at himself in the mirror and touched his face. He couldn't appear in front of her like this. He wanted to be his best when he saw her again. He was determined that this time he would not let her go. He would persist until he met her. No matter how many seasons, no matter how many places he had to go, he was willing to retake these routes even if he had to go back repeatedly. My love, as long as there is a possibility of a reunion with you, our child, I will keep trying. Taking a deep breath, Harvey began to wash up. After that, the search campaign began again. She was running in the desert in Arizona, and he was at Notre Dame watching a medieval play. She was swimming in the Aegean Sea, and he was staring past the Thames River. He was praying to Buddha in India, hoping for his search to be successful. Evelyn and Harvey kept missing each other. Half a year had passed, and he kept getting information about her from Luke, but he always found himself a step behind. He also tried to find out who was on the list of people on the planes, but it was not that easy. She had already become more ingenious and used different names, so she was not so easy to track. Harvey thought that this might be a punishment for him for giving up on his love. Fortunately, he had already figured out her route over the past 6 months. He cut out all the cities she had been to and kept flipping a coin for the following location. He had never believed much in prayers before because he believed that he could change the fate of others. But now, for the first time, he truly wished that he could get a little assistance from above. God, please take me to this woman. The coin was thrown and rolled on the square table. This time, it landed in Poland. All right, we're off again, Harvey murmured, gently stroking the place's name on the map. He had always wanted to visit Poland with Evelyn. For this reason, he had never gone alone. Can I find you here, Evelyn, in this place? Almost at the same time, Evelyn also threw a coin. Evelyn suddenly had an idea when she flung that object into the air. It had been half a year since she had been to New York City. She did not know if Harvey was doing well or not. He had probably given up after what happened 6 months ago. Was there another woman in his life now? Mommy, I've chosen the place, Norwood said as he pulled her close. Poland, Evelyn murmured. It was a good place. It was the place she most wanted to go. It was the place she wanted to go with the person she loved. She had told him that she wanted to visit this place, but now she was going by herself this time. Mommy, don't you like this place? A childish voice sounded. Evelyn shook her head and leaned over to stroke his hair. How can that be? Mommy likes this place. Let's go. Okay, Norwood replied, and Evelyn kissed him lovingly. She carried him to bed, and Evelyn had a dream that night. She dreamt of the place where the sky and sea were connected. A man gradually walked towards her. He raised his hand, and a chain was tied to it. He smiled and said to her, Where else do you want to go? Two people tied by the chain cannot be separated. Evelyn woke up from that dream in the morning and took a deep breath. It was probably because they were going to Poland that she had dreamt of him. She looked at Norwood, who looked very similar to Harvey. He was growing bigger and bigger, and his face looked more and more like Harvey. He was very sensible and never asked about his father. However, Evelyn saw that her son looked more and more like the man who fathered him. She wondered if he would ever want to return to his father's side. She did not want to lose him. Was it too selfish to monopolize his son? Was she going to hide the fact that Harvey had a son forever? She couldn't keep it a secret, as it was selfish. She still hoped that she would have a chance to get back together with Harvey. After going so many places in the past few years, the only places she still wanted to go to were New York City and New Orleans. One was her home, and the other was where her lover was. No matter how beautiful the landscape was, it was no match for the beauty of love. Harvey, Evelyn whispered, leaning over and kissing Norwood's forehead. I'm going to Poland. It is the place I wanted to go with you. But now it seems like I have to take our child with me. At 10 o'clock in the morning, Evelyn left with Norwood. At the same time, Harvey too got on the plane leaving for Poland. Perhaps it was because of a connection between them. Harvey felt a strange nervousness in his heart this time. He didn't know if it was because he was going to the place Evelyn had once wanted to go to, or because he felt that he would find her there. Episode 305, Where the Earth Meets the Sky. The wind blew through her long hair. There is the place where the sky and earth were connected. She saw her figure reflected in the salt lake. She held a child in her hand, and the child turned around. His face was remarkably similar to Harvey's, but he looked as good as his mother when he smiled. Let me find you, Evelyn. I know we have a long way to go in the future. If I can meet you one day soon, I will make up for your pain and give my love to my child. The sooner we meet again, the sooner I get to have the life I deserve. You don't have to be eager to forgive me. You can still be angry at me. I will do everything to atone for my sins, no matter how long it takes. Evelyn, please let me find you." While praying in his heart, Harvey looked at the white clouds in the sky and flew towards the world's end, the place where the sky and earth met. When Evelyn arrived at her destination, she found a pleasant hotel. The sky was clear for miles. Norwood tilted his head to look at her and said,
"Mommy, if it doesn't rain at the lake, we won't be able to see the heaven and earth connecting, right?"
Evelyn nodded and said, "Yes, this place has been dry for a long time, but I'm not in a hurry to leave. Can you wait until it rains for us to go look?"
"Okay,"
Norwood replied with a smile. As long as Mommy was there, he would be there. It didn't rain on the second day of their stay. Evelyn went out and sent a postcard. She first took Norwood to the lake for a while. The lake was not a particularly big tourist attraction. Most of the people here were here to see the beautiful scenery of the Salt Lake's sky mirror. However, people could not control the rain, and they did not know when it would fall. Harvey arrived there 2 days later. It was night when he arrived. He found a room in a hotel and planned to look for Evelyn the following day. When they were at the counter, Harvey asked about the recent weather. The lake was dry as it had not rained. Evelyn would regret not seeing such a beautiful scene, so she might still be here even if he was a bit late. She had to wait for such a beautiful scene. And moreover, Norwood and she had nothing else to do. Harvey's heart was beating very fast. Outside, the sky was filled with stars. Harvey could not help but think that the rain here was peculiar, and he did not know when it would come. Although it happened to be the rainy season, no one could guarantee that it would be rich with rain. He did not know how long it would take for the lake to fill. If she were here, she would want to see such a beautiful sight. Would it have been better to call for artificial rainfall? Thinking about it, Harvey fell asleep. At first, the night was tranquil. When everyone was asleep, the sky changed. The dark clouds covered the moon, the stars, and it started to rain. In his sleep, Harvey felt pain in his hand. He dreamed that he was at a fair. An old woman selling different items was sitting there holding a chain. "You can't take this thing off once it is tied." Harvey looked at the chain on the little finger that pulled him in an unknown direction. The burning sensation of his little finger was so evident that Harvey frowned in his dream and woke up. When Harvey woke up, he realized that he was not at the fair, but at the hotel. He took a deep breath and raised his hand to look at his little fingers. The finger had a chain that tied him to her. Harvey pursed his lips and ran his fingers through his hair. That was a strange dream, he thought. The sound of dripping water caught Harvey's attention. He walked to the window and opened the curtain to look outside. It was raining. I might see the gorgeous sight tomorrow. Harvey suddenly felt excited. He thought it was a sign, and God might help him. Though it was drizzling outside, Harvey was still a little worried. It wouldn't do any good if the water was too little. With a flash of inspiration, Harvey changed his clothes, took the umbrella, and went out. After Harvey left the hotel, Evelyn had a strange dream. After she tied the chain around Harvey's finger in the dream, she tied the other end of the thread to her hand. Harvey pulled her, and she felt pain in her little fingers. Evelyn struggled for a while and woke up from her dream. She looked at Norwood, who was still sleeping beside her. Evelyn planned to go to the window and have a cup of tea. After getting the tea, Evelyn walked to the window and pulled it open. A rain-soaked spring breeze rushed in through the window to greet her. It's raining. The lake after the rain turned into the mirror of the sky. Evelyn blinked and turned around to take a look. On the soft bed, her son Norwood slept soundly. He slept very obediently at night and never woke up in the middle of the night, so Evelyn was assured that he was fast asleep. Evelyn looked outside and smiled. The rain in the middle of the night will surprise the people who wake up early tomorrow. This was a place she had desired to visit with someone she loved, so she wanted to remember everything related to this place. The salt lake in the rain would have a different kind of beauty. Evelyn changed her clothes and went downstairs. She took a free umbrella in front of the door and opened it as she walked out. It was drizzling outside. Evelyn looked up at the sky and wondered if there was enough water in the lake. Evelyn started walking in that direction. There was a strange feeling. Her heart was beating a little fast, as if something was about to happen. She followed the road to the salt lake. After walking for about 10 minutes, Evelyn was almost there. The sound of rain around her gradually stopped. Evelyn reached out her hand outside the umbrella and unexpectedly muttered, "I didn't expect the rain to stop so quickly." Evelyn saw a figure standing in the dark at the salt lake, putting away his umbrella. Because the sky was dark, Evelyn could not see the man clearly. Was it a human or a ghost? It was better not to get close. It was late at night, and it could be troublesome if the man were a bad person. Evelyn had some concerns and turned around to leave. Suddenly, the sky was drowned in moonlight. It was as if a giant hand gently stroked away the dark clouds that covered the moon. Evelyn saw that the salt lake before her reflected the color of the sky. The lake was speckled with stars, and the moon looked gentle, blooming under her feet like a flower in a mirror. Evelyn widened her eyes and raised her head to look at the sky. She hadn't thought that she would encounter such a beautiful scene. This miraculous and magnificent spectacle made her feel dizzy, and she wished if only he were here with her, looking at the same breathtaking scenery. "Harvey, this is the place we agreed to visit together, but alas, we didn't get to come together to see this beautiful scene." "Evelyn?" A low voice sounded from behind her. It rippled in the night sky, and Evelyn's body stiffened. Episode 306, Poured His Heart Out. Evelyn thought she had misheard. Did the voice come from the distant city or her dream? Why did she hear the voice of the lover she longed for? Evelyn's heart raced, and she unconsciously turned around. She saw that person standing at the edge of the horizon where the heavens and the earth met. The stars and the moon were above him in the sky and beneath his feet. It seemed like a dream. His handsome face was still as it had been when she first met him. There is a story about a type of demon. After a rainy night, it absorbed the essence of heaven and earth and revealed itself to confuse people. It would reflect the person one wanted to see the most to tempt them. Evelyn looked at Harvey, who was standing there elegant and poised, and for a moment she thought that she was seeing that demon. No, impossible. How could he be here? It cannot be. Harvey saw her turn around. At first, he wondered if he had been hallucinating because he missed her too much. But now, it seems to be true. He had not expected to meet her again here. This time, fate was gentle, finally pushing them together. The umbrella in Harvey's hand fell to the ground, and Evelyn took a half step back in disbelief. Should she run away now? She had run away from him before. She did not know what kind of treatment she would receive if he caught her this time. But what could she do? She seemed unable to move her feet. Her body was pinned there. She thought of her dream earlier. He had gently said that he would take her home in the dream. No. Dreams are dreams. They have no connection with reality. This man must have found her and wanted to take revenge on her. She still had Norwood to take care of, so she couldn't let him catch her. "Evelyn, run! Run!" A voice kept shouting in her heart. But Evelyn's feet were still on the ground, and she couldn't move at all. Harvey walked in front of her, his hands trembling with excitement. After half a year of relentless search, he finally found Evelyn. At first, he walked a little slower, afraid that she was just a reflection in the water under the moonlight, and if he moved too quickly, it would cause ripples and she would vanish. But Harvey could not hold back anymore and started running to Evelyn. Evelyn opened her mouth, but Harvey took her into his arms before she could say anything. "Evelyn, it's you. It's you, not an illusion. I've finally found you. I have found you at the end of the world, my beloved. Across the mountains and rivers, across foreign lands, the four seasons, the wind, the snow, and the rain." Evelyn felt a sudden pain in her heart. She let him hold her and was at a loss for what to do. Unlike last time, he was calling her name in such an excited voice that he had finally found her. Was she hallucinating again? If so, why was Harvey trembling while holding her? He was a reserved person, and now he was losing control of his emotions. Harvey hugged her tightly. Feeling her body temperature, he was grateful to the heavens. He was thankful that the coin he tossed brought him to this place, and he finally found her. "Evelyn, Evelyn, Evelyn." He called out her name repeatedly as if he was afraid that he would lose her again. Her heart was struggling. Evelyn's eyes gradually turned red. She choked and said, "Harvey? Why are you here?" Harvey hugged her tightly, not wanting to let her go no matter what. "Of course, I came to find you. Evelyn, I finally found you. I have a lot to say to you." He hugged her tighter, causing Evelyn's face to turn red. Evelyn bit her lips, lightly pressed against his chest, and said, "Let go of me first." Harvey reluctantly let go of her, and their eyes met. Evelyn panicked and wanted to avoid him. Harvey hurriedly held her face and said, "Evelyn, look at me. There is something I must tell you first. I promised myself this was the first thing I would say when I found you." Evelyn's heart was beating abnormally fast. Her breathing was rapid, and she spoke almost incoherently and quite nervously. Okay, let's say it." His eyes showed an emotion that Evelyn couldn't understand, which made her panic. It had been a long time since she had looked at him like this. She was already a mature woman and the mother of a child. She did not expect that just one look would confuse her mind. "Evelyn, I love you. I swore that when I saw you, the first thing I would tell you was that I love you. My love for you never changed. I never stopped loving you all these years. It has always been the same as before." Evelyn stared at him blankly, her eyes wide open. What? What is he talking about? He loved her? And he still loves her? No, but you said I betrayed you. You said you no longer loved me, Evelyn said in disbelief. Those words that hurt her still made her heart ache when she thought about them. She didn't dare to think about the cold gaze of Harvey. "I'm sorry. I thought you betrayed me. I thought you went to Mark. After you left, I was depressed. It felt like the end of the world. My heart ached. I told myself that I had to find you and take revenge on you. But deep in my heart, I have always loved you. I thought that imprisoning you by my side and marrying you would be a form of revenge. I thought back then that I would forgive you after making you feel the pain you caused." Harvey confessed all the shameful things. He wanted to tell her everything so she could understand his true feelings. Evelyn's breathing became ragged. She thought she was dreaming. So that was how it was. Even though Harvey had been saying vicious words, he was remorseful for the injury he caused her. It was like a dream. Evelyn had thought that she would never be able to be with him again. She felt that he would never love her again. The gentle Harvey she saw in her dreams every night was now a reality. Tears filled her eyes as she said, "Are you an idiot or just infantile?" "I'm sorry. This is the first time I have truly fallen in love with someone. I am not very familiar with love. Harvey held her hand tightly. Evelyn, I know everything about you. I also know about the child. When Evelyn heard that, she blinked and suddenly shook off his hand. She turned her back and said, Is it because of the child that you came to find me? Are you afraid that I will not let the child see you? How could that be? The child is secondary, and you are the most important. That's not what I mean. Harvey reached out and hugged her from behind. He rubbed his head against her hair and said emotionally, I'm sorry for all these years. I'm sorry that you have had to bear everything alone and hide so much from me. I misunderstood you and hurt you. The only thing I can be grateful for is that I didn't give up on searching for you. Had I given up, I would have regretted that for the rest of my life. Evelyn, you are the love of my life, and I will also love him, because he is the child that came from this love. Episode 307, All That Needed to Be Said. Evelyn tried to hold back her tears, but she could not stop them, and they fell incessantly, no matter how hard she tried. After all these years of suffering, she finally had an outlet to vent. You bastard. Do you know how much I missed you? I missed you, but I did not dare to get close to you. Seeing the child becoming more and more like you, I was happy and sad. I was afraid that one day when you will see this child and not recognize him, I was also afraid you will have new love and take the child away from me. When we reunited, I was very happy, but your cold behavior made me very sad. Evelyn softly sobbed as she accused Harvey. After all these years, she had just Luke and Norwood to accompany her. Harvey hugged her even tighter and kissed her hair. It's my fault. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry I've made you suffer. I've been looking for you for the past 6 months. I made up my mind to find you and let you punish me as much as you want. It doesn't matter how you punish me, as long as you can calm yourself. I believe that after torturing me, all you need to do is fall in love with me again. Evelyn turned around and hugged him as she softly muttered, Actually, I also did something wrong. Perhaps I shouldn't have left behind that kind of letter back then. But I felt that with your temper, you definitely wouldn't have let me go. I definitely wouldn't have let you go if it wasn't for that letter. You really thought I would have brought you to the family to let you suffer? You're so stupid. I had made arrangements. Before you joined the Cage family, I would have taken control. They wouldn't have dared to bully you. Evelyn was startled. She had not imagined this change of direction within the family. Even if I hadn't left, the child wouldn't have been in danger? Evelyn asked. The Cages wouldn't have been able to cause the child harm? Of course not. I am Harvey Cage. How could I put my lover and child in danger? Harvey nodded. Evelyn froze. Then what had she been doing these past 2.5 years? It was all Harvey's fault. Why didn't he say something earlier? He didn't let her know anything, and that caused her to leave. It's all your fault. I want to punish you, Evelyn said, hugging Harvey tightly. Harvey smiled gently. All right, I understand. You can punish me however you want. I only have one question. He took a deep breath and whispered, Do you still love me? Do you still want to marry me? Evelyn blushed and whispered, Those are 2 questions, idiot. Can you answer both of my questions? Harvey asked, his eyes filled with affection. Evelyn shyly held his hand and approached him. Aren't you asking the obvious? I just want to hear it from you. Faced with Harvey's stubborn request, Evelyn could only lower her head and softly said, Of course. I love you and want to marry you. Otherwise, who would care about you? When Harvey heard her finally say what he wanted to hear, he was so happy that he almost jumped in the air. He reached out and picked her up. Harvey laughed and said, "Evelyn will finally be my bride." Don't turn! Don't turn! Evelyn hit him in horror. This guy twirled her around in circles. She did not even know that the CEO of the Cage Group had such a childish side to him. Between heaven and earth, he held her as he spun. "Evelyn, I will never let you go this time. There is nothing that can stop us from being together. I want to be with you for the rest of my life." "I haven't forgiven you yet. You have to perform well. I won't let you off like last time." "Yes, my darling. You are my queen now." Harvey hugged Evelyn tightly. He did not want to let go of her even for a second. Her heart was charmed when she heard Harvey's words. No one in all of New York City would have thought that the arrogant Harvey Cage, CEO of the Cage Group, would treat any woman like a queen. He was a man who only belonged to her because he still loved her. She could forgive anything. And she was the one who left him, so he did not need to atone for his sins. But she would lie to him to make him nervous. They sat together and looked at the scene in front of them. They talked about what had happened to each other over the past 2 years. Although they were chatting, it seemed more like a competition of jealousy. "You've been living with Luke for the past 2 years. I'm so jealous. He hasn't done anything to you, right?" "You already know that Luke is the older brother I never had. Nothing happened between us. Tell me the truth. How many women have you had sex with in the past few years?" "Not a single one." "Liar. I heard from that woman in red that you have a lot of partners." "Idiot. We never reached the last step." "Liar. You're trying to trick me again. You did it that night." "Which night?" "The night you left me in my room. You and that woman. Just thinking about it makes me angry. I have to punish you severely. I mustn't be good to you." "Who said something must have happened in that room?" Harvey leaned over and whispered flirtatiously into her ear. "After I finished with my Evelyn, how could I show interest in other women? I didn't even touch her." "But you said that you will not be satisfied if you do it less than 10 times in one night." "Yes, I can do it 100 times with you." "Pervert." "I'm a pervert when it comes to my wife." Although Harvey said these words casually and mockingly, in reality what he said was true. Before he reunited with Evelyn, he had been abstinent in his desire. He was not interested in any woman. He thought that if Evelyn could betray him, those women who did not want anything more than his money in the end, how could they be with him? The thought of it made him sick of women. He even suspected that he had lost all interest in women for a while. Perhaps Evelyn was the only one in the world who could arouse his interest again. "Evelyn, don't ever leave me again." Harvey grabbed her hand and kissed her gently. They welcomed the sunrise together. Evelyn curled up in his arms, feeling that this was the warmest refuge. In this foreign land, far away from home, Evelyn found her way home in Harvey's arms. Even if she had traveled the world, along thousands of rivers and mountains, her final destination was always here. "Harvey, I will never leave you again," Evelyn murmured. Harvey stroked her hair. There was only endless affection in his eyes. Evelyn and Harvey waited until the sun had risen fully before realizing that this was not their world alone. There was a little guy they needed to face. Episode 308, The Test Harvey Needs to Pass. Evelyn thought of Norwood first. She quickly stood up from Harvey's warm embrace. "Oh no, Harvey. Norwood is sure to have woken up by now. I have to go back." Harvey also said, "I'll go with you." Evelyn awkwardly said, "About that. Norwood has some misunderstandings about you after our last episode. Your sudden appearance would probably cause him to be in a bad mood. Why don't you take a little time? I will explain first before you join us." Evelyn was about to leave when Harvey pulled her nervously. But what if you leave again? He had to chase after his fiancée to catch up with her. He didn't want to separate from her for even a second. Evelyn pursed her red lips and saw Harvey's concern. She smiled and kissed him on the lips. Silly, you and I are connected, mind and heart. How could I run away again? I'm not stupid. The room number is 2702. I'm in 2213. Remember to look for me, Harvey said, holding her hand tightly. Evelyn nodded her head and turned to leave. She turned around and said, You need to be prepared to act like a good father. Do you understand? I love our baby very much, and if he has any problems with us being together, I will wait until he accepts you before we get back together. Why are you doing this? We are deeply in love, and now you say you want to listen to the child's opinion? Harvey was unhappy when he heard this. He felt that this child had seized what Evelyn should have given him. Evelyn pouted. Who was it that said that he would accept any punishment? Who said he would follow me and treat me as his queen? Harvey couldn't help but smile when he heard her words. All right. I'll go back to my room and wait for you. Harvey was reluctant to part with her. He put his hand around her neck and kissed her hard before letting her go. After that, Harvey returned to his room, and his anxious wait began. Although Harvey had never met Norwood, he knew from what Evelyn had already told him that his son had inherited all of his good qualities. He was handsome, had a high IQ at such a young age, and had a personality that did not give in to anyone. Harvey knew how much this child would disapprove of him. Harvey sighed. How nice it would be if the child were a girl. A little princess. That way she would be sweet and docile. Harvey had no choice but to wait. Harvey couldn't help but start thinking about leaving a good impression on Norwood and how to recover his son from everything he already knew. At the same time, Norwood was eating and humming a song in a good mood in Evelyn's room. Last night he had an enjoyable dream. He dreamed that he had tortured his biological father, whom he had never met. After breakfast, Norwood said to Evelyn, Mommy, it rained, and it doesn't look like it will rain today. Can we see the mirror of the sky? Evelyn hugged him and said, Why don't we go and try our luck? After saying that, Evelyn brought Norwood out of the hotel. She had been to this place last night. Although she had already felt the shock of this place, looking at it during the day had a different feeling. As long as there was rain, this place would be a beautiful scene. Norwood was highly excited to see the salt lake after the rain.
Wow, so beautiful,
Norwood exclaimed, looking at the sky and the ground. He was in a good mood. Evelyn took a lot of photos of him with her camera. The two of them had a good time here. At noon, Evelyn asked Norwood, Baby, are you happy?
I'm so happy. I feel like I'm running in the sky with my feet on the ground. It's magical,
Norwood said with a sweet smile. Evelyn rubbed his hair and took a deep breath. Norwood, Mommy has something to tell you. Evelyn stroked his hair. When Norwood saw how serious she was, he became obedient and quiet. He nodded and said,
Mommy, is it bad?
Norwood, your daddy is looking for us. Norwood was stunned. He blinked and said,
Daddy is here? Then why didn't he come with you? I haven't seen Daddy in a long time. I miss him a little.
Norwood took it for granted that his daddy was Luke, the godfather he recognized when he was born. Evelyn shook her head and stroked his hair. It's not your godfather, but rather your real father that has come to find us.
What? Is he here to catch you again? Let's run, Mommy. We can't let him catch us.
Norwood stood up and said seriously. Evelyn smiled bitterly. Although she had explained things to him repeatedly, the time she wore a hospital gown and could not speak must have significantly impacted this child. He thought that his biological dad was a bad person, and there was nothing she could do about it. Norwood, listen to Mommy. Your daddy isn't a bad person. He always liked Mommy very much, and since he liked me so much, how could he do something to me? Your daddy has been very good to Mommy. Evelyn tried her best to be reasonable.
But he treated you very badly. We can't go back. He will treat you badly when he sees you. I don't believe that he's a good person. I don't like him.
Norwood did not believe that he could be a good person. The people who bullied his mommy were all bad people. Evelyn smiled bitterly. She knew that things would turn out like this. Evelyn held Norwood and said, "Mommy left Daddy because she had something to do. Your daddy couldn't find Mommy, so he became very angry. Now that Daddy has found me and apologized, he wants to have a good relationship with Norwood also. Let's give him a chance, okay?" Norwood lowered his head and hesitated. Mommy used to sigh and miss Daddy so much. Wouldn't Mommy be even sadder if she couldn't be with Daddy? Well, I hate that Daddy, but if Mommy wants to be with him, I should listen to her, Norwood thought.
Mommy, do you like Daddy?
Of course I like him.
Okay, we can meet Daddy,
Norwood said, blinking. Evelyn hooked his little nose and said, "Mommy knows that you are a sensible child, and I want you to be happy. So I asked to give him a chance. I swear that I won't interfere in any matter between you and Daddy. Only after he passes your test will I reconcile with him. How about that?" Episode 309, A Long Battle. Norwood rolled his eyes and said,
"That's good. Then, Mommy, we have a deal."
"All right, anything for you, my love. I love you the most." Harvey did not know that Evelyn had completely sold him to her son. He was still anxiously waiting in the room for Evelyn to contact him. Fortunately, he did not have to wait too long. Evelyn arrived in the afternoon. Harvey was wearing a suit and realized he had never been this nervous before. Harvey opened the door and looked at Evelyn and Norwood. He said awkwardly, "Evelyn, come in." Evelyn held Norwood's hand and walked in. Norwood looked at Harvey. Evelyn smiled and said, "Harvey, this is our child. His name is Norwood." Harvey's palms were sweating. He squatted down and said, "Norwood, I'm your daddy."
"Nice to meet you, Uncle."
Norwood didn't hold back at all. He spoke coldly, causing Harvey to be stunned.
"Uncle?"
Norwood is naughty, but kids are mischievous. Harvey took a deep breath and told himself in his heart that this was just a child. He tried to put on a gentle smile. Harvey said, "Norwood, I am your father, not your uncle. You should call me Daddy."
"No, I want to call you Uncle. You can't be my daddy."
Harvey's eyes flashed, and he looked up at Evelyn. Evelyn's smile was gentle and harmless. "Yes, Harvey. To prove that you are a good father, you must win his approval. I have given him the authority to get to know you in his time. Now, I will not interfere in your relationship with Norwood. I have also promised him that as long as he does not recognize you as a father, I will not agree to be with you." He had traveled half of the world and finally found his fiancée. He thought it would be a happy ending. But now she suddenly came up with a plan like this? He looked at Evelyn, and it was apparent that she would not help him. That innocent and kind fiancé of his, who was always thinking for him, was now able to make him bleed just by smiling. Ugh, time was brutal. Harvey sighed at his own misery. He forced a smile and said to Norwood, "Okay, from today onwards, I will take care of Norwood. I will try my best to be a good father." He turned to the boy. "If you have any requests, let me know."
"Okay, Uncle. I will tell you everything."
Norwood nodded and smiled. Since Harvey had agreed to this test, Norwood wouldn't hold back. Harvey looked at Norwood and knew this little guy must be full of wicked ideas. Harvey knew that the next few days would be rough. His son had come to make things difficult for him. What was going on? "Let's take a photo first. There are still people in New York City who are concerned about us," I have to tell them about the reunion. Although there was still a considerable gap to cross in the road ahead, it was still the best feeling to have the one he loved by his side. Although his son might not like him, Harvey was touched when he saw Norwood. He had always thought that he hated children. He had never thought that children from any family were cute. But when he saw Norwood, he understood one thing. He hated other people's children, not the child created by Evelyn and himself. Evelyn thought about how she had only been sending postcards to Luke for half a year and felt a little guilty. Indeed, he must have made Luke worry a lot. Evelyn hugged Norwood and smiled. It is time to report your safety. Harvey gave her a meaningful look and said, I'm not just talking about Luke. I'm talking about someone else you've been missing for a long time. Evelyn was stunned for a moment. Someone she had always missed. Evelyn's pupils contracted. She found it hard to believe. Could it be? Mark is back? Evelyn couldn't believe it when she said this. She didn't dare to hear the answer. However, she thought for a moment. Apart from Mark, she didn't have anyone else she cared about. Who else could it be if not him? Harvey smiled gently. Yeah, who else could it be other than him? He's in the city right now waiting for you. Quick, take a photo and surprise him.
Hey, will you send a photo to my uncle?
Norwood looked up and asked Evelyn. Evelyn nodded, tears almost flowing out of her eyes. Yes, Norwood, Uncle is waiting for us. Let's take a photo first and let him see us, okay?
Okay,
Norwood said, straightening his clothes.
I need to make a good impression on my uncle.
The corner of Harvey's mouth couldn't help but twitch. Seeing his uncle was more important than meeting his father. Now that he was sending a picture to his uncle, he wanted to display a good appearance. Hey, the difference in treatment was too much. Just how much did this child have against him? Harvey almost instantly stopped taking pictures. But at that moment, the situation was no longer under his control. Evelyn took a few photos of the three of them and chose the best one to send. Harvey could already foresee his position in the family in the future. Life is bitter. Harvey, send it to them now, Evelyn said, holding the phone. Harvey took the phone. He thought about it and said, Let's surprise them. Let's get the photo printed and put it in the postcard. Evelyn smiled gently. All right, I can't wait to return. She wanted to see Mark. She had so much to say to him. Harvey held her hand and said affectionately, It was not easy to come here. Let's stay for a few more days before leaving. He did not want to be bothered by those guys. When he returned to New York City, he was sure that he would be disturbed every 2 or 3 days. With 2 love rivals and a child who didn't like him, the chances of having a peaceful life with Evelyn in New York seemed bleak.
Don't hold Mommy's hand. You are not allowed to touch my mommy,
Norwood's voice suddenly sounded. A soft hand and fingernails slashed at Harvey's hand. Harvey was stunned. He raised his head and met Norwood's eyes. The corner of Harvey's mouth twitched. He watched Evelyn pull her hand out of his. She apologized. I'm sorry, Harvey. It's his decision now. Norwood proudly raised his head and looked at him. Harvey's face darkened when he saw Norwood's expression.
Don't even think you are getting away with it.
Harvey wanted to reconsider his words. Ooh, he definitely hated this child. This child was as possessive as he was and had inherited his intelligence. He was not going to be easy to deal with. It seemed like Harvey needed to prepare for a long battle. Episode 310, Bombs in Mail. It seemed that though Harvey had finally gotten his fiancée, he was far from being able to live a happy life. He was thousands of miles away from that kind of life. He couldn't even hold hands. This was too harsh. Early in the morning in New York City, the flowers bloomed, filling the air with an enchanting fragrance on a summer morning. Luke woke up, washed his face, and rinsed his mouth. He went to the mailbox, picked up the letter, and returned to the house. Every once in a while, overseas mail would arrive from some unknown corner of the world, and when he opened it, there would be postcards and occasional presents. The scene on the postcards was different every time. There were only a few words written on the back, and there was warmth and concern in the beautiful handwriting. The delicate gifts were usually local products, and Luke looked forward to them. A woman who did not follow the game's rules left no clue where she was going. He could not help but keep watching and guessing. Where had she gone this time, and what had she seen? Gradually, all of this became a habit. Even though he knew that such a letter would only appear once every half a month, he couldn't help but rummage through his mailbox every day. "Where'd you go this time?" Luke asked, smiling. After returning to the study, Luke carefully cut open the envelope with a knife and took out the postcard. "It's the glasses of the sky. It's a good place. I wonder if Harvey got it right this time," Luke said, raising his eyebrows. Over the past 6 months, he had informed Harvey whenever he received a postcard from Evelyn. Harvey had abandoned running the company and was searching for Evelyn worldwide, only to be met with disappointment. Luke was quite happy with his misfortune. Perhaps it was because he knew Evelyn would eventually become Harvey's woman one day, so Luke had no sympathy for Harvey. He took pleasure in his misfortune. When he received the postcards, Luke would be happy all day, and he would be even more content after calling Harvey. However, this day seemed different from the others. There were 2 words on the card: "Thank you." Luke was slightly startled. He didn't understand what it meant. He looked at the package again and found something else inside. It was a photo. Luke hadn't seen Evelyn for more than half a year and missed her very much. Thinking that this photo would be a picture of Evelyn, Luke couldn't wait to take it out. Luke opened the photo and saw Evelyn. She looked much better than when she had left. Her face was flushed. The 6 months of traveling had been good for her. It had made her more beautiful. In addition to her pure aura, she seemed to have matured, making her look even more stunning. However, Luke's hand was trembling. It wasn't the photo of just Evelyn or the kid. The photo had the man he hated the most. So annoying. I hate him, Luke murmured with emotion. He was smiling, but his heart was in turmoil. Harvey had finally found her. And it was good that Luke no longer had to call that annoying man and tell him where she was going. The prince had finally found the princess and put a crystal shoe on her foot like a fairy tale. Harvey had found Evelyn. Over the past 6 months, this was something he worked to help Harvey accomplish. However, his heart began to ache uncontrollably when Harvey had finally achieved success. Until that moment, he never gave up completely. Now he would never have another chance. Evelyn belonged to Harvey. He cried, happy for the woman he loved, despite his loss. "Evelyn, I'm delighted for you. You will finally get to be with the person you love. Although my heart is hurting, I sincerely wish you happiness." That morning, Luke was not the only one who received the postcard. Mark got up from his bed when someone rang his doorbell. He went to the door and angrily took the letters. He returned to his room and casually threw them aside. Mark closed his eyes and slept for 10 minutes before he felt something was wrong. He quickly sat up again. International mail. Mark opened the mail and took out the contents. He was shocked. A postcard? Mark opened the envelope and saw the familiar handwriting. His body trembled. Those warm words were something he would never forget for the rest of his life. It was written with gentleness. "Mark, wait for me to come home." Mark's eyes were filled with tears. He nodded and said, "Yes, I'll wait for you to come home. This time I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here until you come back." Mark opened the envelope again and found a photo. The family in the photo looked nice. Mark smiled bitterly and touched Evelyn's face. "Skinny," Mark said. "You look healthier, more mature, and more beautiful." He covered Harvey's face with his hand. He had found them. Although he knew that this day would eventually come, Mark still felt a tiny ripple of pain in his heart. He wasn't a saint, and he didn't like helping others. The reason why he helped Harvey was to make Evelyn happy. Now that he had found her, he would treat her well and give her happiness in the future. However, Mark still felt a little sour and uncomfortable. Why wasn't it me? Why couldn't I give you happiness in the end? After all, it was such a deep love. To forget was easier said than done. But he knew that he had to let go. Only if he did would she be able to live a good life. After taking a deep breath, Mark put down the photo and card and thought for a while. Luke should have received the parcel as well. With Harvey's personality, how could he miss out on this big surprise going to both of them? Mark got up and called him. The call went through very quickly. "Did you receive the bomb too?" Luke asked. "Yeah, it's a big bomb. It blew up my sleepiness. Let's go and have a drink somewhere. We won't come home until we get drunk tonight." "It's still daytime," Luke said. "Do you want to drink or not?" Mark asked, raising his eyebrows. "Yeah, sure." Luke took his things and left. The two men drank all day. At 10 o'clock in the evening, they were swaying on the road with their arms around each other's shoulders, carrying liquor bottles. Both of them were drunk. Mark smiled as he walked with the bottle in his hand. "Let me tell you, Harvey just took a big advantage. Evelyn and me. How should I put it? She and I are childhood sweethearts. I am the prospective son-in-law our parents agreed on." Luke did not show any signs of weakness. He raised the bottle and said, "I am also a childhood friend. We have been together since junior high school. We often exchanged meals. She gave me her lunchbox. Later, I met her in this very city. What is that called? It's called fate. Harvey is nothing." "That's right. What is he? What's he so arrogant about?"
Episode 311, Drowning the Sorrows. The two of them walked all the way, occasionally sitting on the side of the road. The night wind blew, and there were no cars on the quiet street. They both gradually became sober after a long silence. The two of them were not very drunk at all. People who felt pain were always the soberest. No matter how hard they tried to numb themselves, their pain kept them sober. After taking a deep breath, Mark calmed down and asked Luke, "Which one do you like? The violinist from your memory or the current Evelyn?" Luke thought for a moment and shook his head. "I don't know. In the beginning, I liked the violinist girl, but when I met her again, she had already become another person. I originally planned to protect her silently, but I fell in love with her again. I think I would always like Evelyn, irrespective of the changes. I would have fallen in love with her even if we hadn't shared a past, because she is Evelyn." There was never a connection between him and Evelyn. The first time they met, he ruined any hope of love for each other. The second time they met, he had a chance, but he did not dare to get close to her. He only watched her from afar. Because of guilt, it was more important for him to see her happy than to be a part of her life. The third time, he mustered up his courage and chased her abroad, but there was no place for him in her heart. Destined to love her, but not get the love back in return. "I've never liked you, because I don't like anyone who likes Evelyn. But I agree with you, because she is Evelyn. I would have probably still liked her no matter when I met her. She's always concerned about others, always thinking of others. Silly, but very warm. From the first time I saw her, from the first time she extended her hand to me, I thought she was my light, and I am willing to do anything for her." "You did," Luke said, sipping wine. "You walked in the dark alone and kept her safe. She is worthy of me doing that." Mark raised his brows. He had done so many things for her. Even if he had to go back and live that life again, he would without any hesitation. He was willing to go to hell for her. "Yes, she is a good woman. She has suffered a lot. That's why she deserves to be happy in the future. So even if it hurts, I would have to pretend to let go so that she could feel at ease. Don't tell anyone when the time comes. I can become a professional actor with my acting skills. You should worry about yourself." They smiled at each other and clinked glasses. She had lived so many bitter days for such a long time. She deserved to be happy now. "For your happiness, we will keep pretending." Evelyn did not know that two people were thinking of her in distant New York City. They may not have gotten to be the hero of her life, but since they loved her so much, they ignored their aching heart and did all they could for her happiness. Harvey was finally getting on the plane.
Before he started taking care of Norwood, Harvey had never known that taking care of a child could prove to be so tiring. Of course he knew that he was tired because this kid was deliberately making things difficult for him. But no matter what, he finally tasted the pain of being a father. When they were shopping, Norwood selected a bunch of useless and embarrassing things for him to carry. He was going to call someone to pick up the items, but the kid said thoughtfully, "A dad always carries things from shops. It looks like you still want to be an uncle." Harvey had no choice but to carry the things himself. When he went to dinner, Harvey would make the sauce the boy wanted to eat with his own hands, and then Norwood would say it was terrible and spit it out. This kind of daily torture became a standard routine without any let-up. It was not easy to take a plane back to New York City. But after all this, the little heir was also exhausted and fell asleep. Harvey finally had some peace. Evelyn sat next to Norwood at first. When Norwood fell asleep, she quietly walked over to Harvey and sat down. She whispered, "Harvey, thank you for your hard work. You must be tired." Harvey held her hand and said lovingly, "It's okay. I'm not tired." Harvey's heart was bitter, but he could not show exhaustion in front of his own woman, no matter how tired he was. It was a matter of principle. Evelyn bit her lip and said softly, "He's not a bad child. He still can't get over it and thinks you are bad. You bullied me. That's why he is like this."
"Evelyn, look at you. Are you afraid that I won't like him? How is that possible? He is our baby. Although I can't say I like how he is acting, I won't dislike him. All these years when I wasn't by your side, he always protected you from me. He's simply a little hero. I like him too much. How could I hate him?"
Harvey wasn't trying to please Evelyn. Of course he hated how Norwood was treating him, but this child was his flesh and blood. Sometimes his habits and expressions looked very much like his own, and Harvey could not help but feel soft in his heart. He was CEO of the Cage Group, and if he did not allow it, no one could torture him like this. Evelyn smiled sweetly and kissed him on the cheek. "Harvey, you are so nice." Harvey gently stroked her hair.
"Evelyn, I will always be good to you. I will also be good to our son."
The two of them looked at Norwood, who was sleeping soundly, and smiled at each other. Finally, this day had arrived. The two of them had hoped to have a home for each other. Now, they finally did. The plane flew to New York. Harvey picked Norwood up, who was fast asleep. Evelyn looked at his sleeping face and had an idea. "Why don't you ask Norwood to go home with you first? It will help improve your relationship if you two are alone. I will go home first to see Mark." Harvey nodded. He covered Norwood's ears and told her,
"But first, say that you won't be too close to Mark. Even if you are excited, you have to keep your distance. Otherwise, I will be jealous."
Evelyn felt helpless. This man was jealous, as always. She pushed him and growled, "You are a grown man. Why are you always so jealous?" "All right, I will remember what you said. Take Norwood back to the house. I will probably have dinner with Mark. I will come back later tonight." Episode 312, A Surprise Visit.
"All right, you can go."
Harvey waved at her and sent someone to take her to Mark's place. He carried Norwood to his car. Norwood must have been tired from tormenting Harvey over the past few days. He didn't wake up at all and continued to sleep soundly. Harvey looked at his face and raised his eyebrows.
"Now that your mommy is gone, let's have a good talk about the future, you brat."
Evelyn was a bit nervous along the way. She wanted to surprise Mark and had not told him about her return. This time, her mood was different from the last time. She looked at the familiar yet somewhat unfamiliar scenery around her and was filled with heavy emotion. She remembered working at that place, drinking coffee, and chatting with her old friend in the coffee shop. She remembered waiting for the person she liked there. There was also an amusement park in the distance. The person who accompanied her there was Mark. Clusters of memories came up, all good memories. Some people say that the good things and bad things that one encounters in one's life are proportional, but when one recalls the past, Those bad things don't leave behind essential traces in one's heart. All that's left behind are those beautiful, shining memories. Maybe it was true, Evelyn thought. Now, she could not recall any of the painful memories of the past. All she could think of were beautiful and precious scenes. She was overwhelmed with emotions at being able to return to this place again. She arrived in the familiar neighborhood and stopped in front of a particular house. The driver turned around and said respectfully, "Ma'am, we're here." Evelyn's face turned slightly red. She was not used to anyone calling her that and quickly got out of the car. Evelyn walked up to the familiar door and pressed the doorbell. According to Harvey, Mark was always at home. He had nothing to do and probably played games all day long. Her heartbeat was fast and her palms were covered with sweat. After 2.5 years, she was finally going to see her closest family. She wanted to see his face. She wanted to know if he had lost weight or gained weight. She wanted to see how his face had changed from a teenager to a mature one. She wanted to see if he'd grown taller. Evelyn couldn't help but laugh at herself when she thought of this. She was a typical older sister. The first thing she cared about was if her brother had grown fat or thin. The door opened, and Mark's form stood in front of Evelyn. Evelyn saw his excited look. Evelyn looked at him and murmured to him while trembling, "You've become so skinny. If you continue to grow like this, your height will soar to the sky. You look even more handsome than I remember, though." Tears rolled down her cheeks, and Evelyn choked. "Mark, I've missed you so much." Mark's heart was filled with complex emotions, and he could not say a word. He reached out his hand and held Evelyn tightly in his arms. His brown eyes were also glistening with tears. "Welcome back, Evelyn. Welcome home." Evelyn hugged him tightly and nodded vigorously. "I'm back, Mark." The two hugged at the door for a long time. Evelyn could not bear to let go of him, whom she thought she would never see again in this life. Then Evelyn calmed down a little, and the two of them went inside the house. Evelyn couldn't wait to tell him everything she had gone through in the last few years. As soon as they started chatting, they couldn't stop and forgot about the time. When Norwood woke up, he found that he was not on the plane but in a bedroom. He was shocked. "Mommy?" Norwood got up from the bed and started looking for Evelyn. He opened the door and saw Harvey's tall figure in front of the door. He leaned over and smiled wickedly. "No, Mommy. Only Daddy for now." Norwood wanted to close the door when he saw him, but Harvey blocked it. He raised his eyebrows and said, "If you're awake, let's have a talk." Norwood curled his lips. "I have nothing to talk about with you." Harvey crossed his arms and said gently, "If you do not cooperate, I will have to resort to force." As he spoke, Harvey bent down to grab Norwood. Norwood hurriedly pushed him away and sized him up with a cold snort. "If you dare to touch me, I'll tell my mommy that you're bullying me." Harvey smiled fiercely. "All right, you go ahead and tell her. I will also tell your mommy that you lied about me because you don't like me. Don't think you can be arrogant because your mommy treats you well. Your mommy and I have a solid relationship. Your mommy might not believe you." Norwood thought about Harvey's threat for a few seconds. Of course, it was not that he did not trust his mommy. She was the best. But he did not want to make trouble for her. "All right, I will talk to you," Norwood said. The two of them went to the study room. Norwood climbed onto the sofa by himself and sat up straight with an intense expression. Harvey sat down opposite him. He didn't do anything just because Norwood was a child. He took his notebook and pen. "What do you want to talk to me about, Uncle? Do you want me to not make things difficult?" Norwood asked Harvey first. Harvey pursed his lips and gritted his teeth. "I'll repeat it. I'm your daddy. You're not allowed to call me Uncle." Norwood looked at him with disgust. Norwood snorted and said deliberately,
Uncle, hurry up if there's anything you need to say. I'm very busy.
Harvey was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He held the pen tightly as he told himself to calm down. Although this kid was asking for a beating, he is your son. You can't beat him. If your fiancé were to find out, you'd be dead. Harvey took a deep breath and suppressed his anger. He pulled a long face and said, What kind of sports do you like? Basketball, soccer, or tennis? Badminton?
Soccer. Why are you asking?
Norwood asked. Harvey ignored him and continued to ask, Do you like to play video games?
I'm not at the age where I can play too big a game. Mommy said I could only play Super Mario, but I want to play World of Warcraft. Hey, why are you asking about this?
Don't ask questions. I'm the one who will be asking the questions, and you have to answer. Do you like any small animals? Cats or dogs? Are there any special breeds?
Cats like Garfield. Dogs like Paw Patrol.
Norwood thought for a while and finally understood what was going on. He thought to himself that this man was trying to understand his preferences. Because he didn't know him well, he came to ask these questions. Norwood blinked his eyes and a thought appeared in his mind. No, Harvey couldn't fool him. The man was trying to trick him. Although he thought that he was being tricked, Norwood still told Harvey about his hobbies. Harvey browsed through it and was very satisfied. He turned the pen and said, Since you like soccer, I'm changing the backyard to a soccer field. Whenever you want to play, I will bring you to play. And I can make a gaming room for you and play Super Mario with you. But you will be allowed to play for only 2 hours a day. If you play for too long, your mommy will get angry. Norwood listened to him and was stunned. He then asked,
What are you doing?
Episode 313, All That Norwood Wants. Harvey raised his eyebrows and said, I'll give you whatever you want. I will take you to the pet shop later. Choose something you want. Norwood was stunned. This was all too swift. Norwood was dumbfounded. But Harvey was such a forceful personality that he could do anything he wanted. 20 minutes later, the repair team came to remodel his room. Norwood sat in the car and went to the pet shop with Harvey.
You're trying to please me because of Mommy. I won't give up easy.
Norwood snorted coldly in the car. Harvey said calmly, I don't need to please you to win your mommy's heart. Your mommy and I have been through a lot, and our relationship has been deeply rooted for a long time. So we don't need these little tricks. I'm doing these to make you happy. After all, I have not been with you and your mommy for the past 2 years. You are the one who accompanied her. You are a good child. Thank you for protecting your mommy and taking care of her. Evelyn had no idea how lonely she would be in these 2 years without Norwood. This child was an angel bestowed upon Evelyn by the heavens, and also an angel bestowed upon him. If it weren't for him, he and Evelyn would have had to go through countless misunderstandings before they could be together. Norwood looked at Harvey. He turned his face away and looked out of the window.
Uncle, even if you say something nice, I won't listen to it.
Don't call me Uncle.
After they arrived at the pet shop, Norwood looked at all the cute little animals and was extremely happy. He picked out a puppy and a kitten. Harvey held the puppy and carried the cat with a smile. He stood in the light of the setting sun and smiled faintly. The owner said, Your son is so cute. Harvey felt proud of Norwood.
He is cute. He looks exactly like me when I was a kid. However, he has got that smile of his mother.
Norwood held the cat in his arms and said to Harvey,
I want it.
All right, I'll get it for you.
At that time, Mark and Evelyn were in the cemetery in the city. They placed flowers in front of a tombstone. Evelyn looked at the beautiful girl in the photo and muttered, "She was a good girl. She only wanted to make you happy." Mark squatted down and looked at the girl in the photo. He smiled and said, "Thank you, Crystal. Thank you for loving me so deeply. Thank you for risking your life for me." Evelyn looked at the photo and said softly, "Crystal, don't worry. Everything you wanted has been realized." Now that Mark is home, he can smile again and put the past behind him. Now that he's doing well, please don't worry and rest in peace. Maybe someday, Mark thought, when he would meet a girl like Crystal again, he might be able to fall in love with her. Though he was destined not to be with whom he loved in his life, he wanted to experience the feeling of being loved deeply again. If such a girl appeared, he would respond. Mark stood up and said to Evelyn, "Let's go. Let's get back." "Okay." Under the setting sun's light, the two walked back to his home. Mark said, "I told Luke that you were back. He is coming for dinner tonight." "Is that so? Then I'll have to show off my cooking skills." "By the way, where's Norwood? I haven't seen him yet. Why didn't he come with you?" "He is currently cultivating his relationship with his daddy," Evelyn said with a meaningful smile. She tucked her hair behind her ear and said, "I hope they can build a good relationship." Mark wondered if Harvey could handle Norwood. When they went out, the CEO of the Cage Group had taken one child out of the door. When they came back, Harvey was holding the dog, the little boy was holding the cat, and in his hand was a little hamster. After ordering people to settle everything, Harvey put the hamster in the small cage, put the cat on the soft cushion, and asked a house help to build a kennel in the house and yard. Norwood couldn't bear to part with these little animals. Harvey looked at those little animals being treated much better than him by Norwood and shook his head helplessly. He had occasionally heard the staff say that humans were inferior to dogs. In the past, he didn't understand what they meant. Now, Harvey felt that that was probably the situation he was facing. After instructing the servants in the house to remember to prepare dinner for the animals, Harvey said to Norwood, "Go take a shower. After you finish showering, we will have dinner. What do you want to eat?" Norwood thought and said,
"Mac and cheese with hot dogs. Isn't Mommy coming back for dinner?"
"Your mommy is going to have dinner with your uncle tonight. It's just the two of us, so you don't have to worry,"
Harvey said. Norwood thought for a while and added something he wanted to eat, then went to the bedroom to find some clothes to change into after a bath. After a while, Harvey knocked on the door and came in with a robe in his hand. Norwood stared at him and asked,
"Why did you come in?"
Harvey said matter-of-factly,
"Your mommy is not here, so the responsibility of giving you a bath is naturally on me."
"I can take a bath by myself."
Norwood looked a little disgusted.
"I don't want to take a bath with a stranger."
He had not been honest with Harvey yet. He felt a little shy. Harvey, who had been called uncle for the whole day, was already a little angry. When he heard Norwood reject his offer, he put his hand on his shoulder and said,
"Bathing you is my mission. You can't refuse it."
"Ah, let go of me. Put me down. I don't want to take a bath with you."
Norwood struggled. Harvey smiled wickedly.
"Men should be honest with each other. Stop struggling. Let's go."
Harvey carried Norwood into the bathroom as he spoke. 10 minutes later, Harvey burst into laughter.
"So you didn't want me to bathe you because of the heart-shaped birthmark on your butt. You are so cute to have this kind of birthmark."
Norwood was furious. He just hated this guy. The guy was annoying. After they took a shower, Harvey forced Norwood to listen to a story before leaving. Before he left, Harvey brought the cat and said,
"It can sleep with you."
Norwood pursed his lips and tried his best not to look happy. However, he still smiled adorably when he hugged the cat's soft body. Harvey looked at his expression and found it extremely cute. Sure enough, many things in his genes were similar to his mother. For example, liking small animals. This kind of adorable face was all things that he did not have when he was young. He couldn't help feeling happy for his son. "You're luckier than your dad, kid." Harvey left Norwood's room and looked at his watch. It was still early, but Harvey began to think about Evelyn, hoping she would come back soon. Harvey was waiting for Evelyn in the hall downstairs. Evelyn stayed at Mark's house until 9 o'clock. After chatting with Mark and Luke for a long time, she said, "I have to go to Harvey's. It's already getting so late." "You can stay here. This is your home." Mark was reluctant to part with Evelyn and could not help but ask her to stay. Evelyn smiled and held his hand. "No, Norwood is over there. I will be anxious if I don't see him." Luke knew that she would not stay, so he took his coat and said, "Evelyn, let me walk you out." Episode 314, Passing the Test. The two of them went out the door and got into the car. Evelyn and Mark shared a final hug. Evelyn said, "I will bring Norwood over in a few days. You can come to find Norwood and me if you have nothing else to do." "All right." Mark nodded and watched her leave with Luke. When they arrived at the Cage family's house, Evelyn got out of the car and waved goodbye to Luke. Luke looked at her bright and healthy face and smiled. "It seems that you are very happy." Evelyn looked at him and nodded. "Yes, I am delighted. You don't have to worry about me now." Luke reached out his hand and rubbed her hair. He sighed and said, "In the future, I don't need to worry about you. There are people to take care of you. The lights are still on inside. I think they're waiting for you. You should go in quickly." Evelyn blushed and opened the door to the house and walked in. Before Evelyn could take off her shoes, someone hugged her from behind. Evelyn was shocked. Harvey? There was a cold fragrance in the air that belonged only to him. Harvey let go of her and leaned over to ask, "Tell me, why did you come back so late? Did you forget about me because you were too happy reminiscing with them? Did you drink?" Evelyn was helpless. That was a lot of questions. She stretched a finger to press against his head and poked it. Evelyn said helplessly, "I didn't drink, and we just chatted. Don't get so jealous. Why is there a golden hair here?" A dog suddenly came over, and Evelyn opened her eyes wide. Harvey said proudly, "I went to buy this with Norwood this afternoon. He is a new member of our family. The name of the golden retriever is Harley, named by Norwood. There's a cat in his room called Cool. There are also 2 hamsters. One is called Ding Ding, and the other is called Twinkie. I don't think our son has any talent for naming." Evelyn smiled gently. "Did you play with Norwood?" Harvey raised his eyebrows and said, "Yes, as best I could. Would you please go and see him? It's getting late. You should go to bed soon." He kissed her forehead. Harvey felt sorry that he couldn't sleep in the same room with her. Evelyn knew what he was thinking. She held his hand and said, "Harvey, we still have years ahead of us." "Yes, we have a lifetime. It's okay. I can wait," Harvey said gently. Evelyn nodded and went upstairs. She quietly opened Norwood's room. Evelyn thought Norwood had fallen asleep, but she did not expect this little guy to wake up in a daze. He looked at Evelyn, sitting by his bed, and softly called, "Mommy?" "Baby, why aren't you asleep yet? Were you waiting for me?" Seeing that Norwood wasn't asleep, Evelyn reached out her hand to gently stroke his hair and asked. Norwood blinked and said, "Mommy, you're back." I'm back. I went to see your uncle today, and he wants to meet you. Let's go see him in a few days, okay?"
All right.
Norwood's beautiful eyes flashed, and he was very obedient, causing Evelyn to lean over and kiss his forehead.
Mommy,
Norwood looked at his mommy and whispered,
you like Daddy?
Evelyn was stunned and said, "Of course I like him." Norwood pursed his lips and bit his lower lip.
Okay, I want Mommy happy. So, that's good.
Evelyn laughed in her heart. Her son still had an odd look on his face. He had more or less accepted Harvey in his heart. However, he was too stubborn to say it out loud. Evelyn covered him with the blanket, and the kitten let out a soft meow in his arms. Norwood followed suit and meowed. It was charming. Evelyn patted him and said, "Thank you, my darling, for thinking so much about Mommy. I am so happy. Go to sleep. Mommy will sing you to sleep." Evelyn did not come out until Norwood fell asleep again. When she closed the door, she saw Harvey standing against the wall. Evelyn rolled her hair behind her ear.
Is Norwood asleep?
Harvey asked. Evelyn nodded. Yes. When I went in, he woke up, but now he is asleep again. He likes that cat, and the cat also likes him very much. Both of them are sleeping soundly. Harvey nodded and looked at her gentle smile. He moved closer to her and hugged her.
Thank you for your hard work, Evelyn.
Evelyn's face slightly blushed as she softly said, You are the one who did all the hard work today. Thank you for your hard work. Harvey wanted to hold her like this and not let go, but he reluctantly let go of her, thinking she was tired after a day of torment. He said,
Go to sleep. Good night.
Harvey walked to his door. As soon as he opened the door, he felt a slight tug. Harvey turned around and saw Evelyn holding onto his clothes with her head down. She looked a little shy. Harvey was dumbfounded.
Evelyn?
Norwood said that you're not very bad. You've passed the test, so I can sleep here now. Harvey was stunned for a few seconds. He didn't know how to react. Evelyn pouted and looked at his stunned reaction. She snorted. What's wrong? If you're not interested, I can go back to my room. Harvey heard that she was going to leave. He quickly came back to his senses and held her in his arms.
You are not allowed to leave.
He wouldn't miss this opportunity. How could he, when it might not come around again soon? Indeed, it was right to curry favor with his son. It was simply too great. Harvey then pulled her into his bedroom excitedly. The following day, Harvey came out of his room in a good mood and ordered a maid to prepare breakfast for Evelyn. As soon as he walked out of the door, Harvey bumped into Norwood. Norwood looked at him and curled his lips.
My mommy is in your room?
Harvey was in high spirits.
Yes, your mommy is in my room.
Norwood snorted.
I know mommy likes you, Daddy, but don't ever bully her. If you try to bully mommy, I will stop you.
Harvey bent over and held out his little finger.
Thank you for understanding, Norwood. Thank you for letting me pass the test and be with your mommy. I will never bully your mommy in the future. I will harm myself before I do that. Okay?
Norwood looked at his fingers and held out his hand. After a quick handshake to seal the deal, Harvey hurriedly said to Norwood,
Now, can you please call me Daddy all the time?
Norwood looked at him and frowned. Turning around, Norwood ignored Harvey and left. The corner of Harvey's mouth twitched. He was sure that his son's rebellious period had come early. He did not know how long this period would last, but he hoped it would pass soon. His future was still uncertain. But now that he and Evelyn were finally together, he had to do whatever the situation demands. After asking the maid to prepare breakfast for Evelyn, Harvey went to the office. After Evelyn got up, she received a call from Mark. She washed up and tidied up Norwood before telling her son, Norwood, Uncle will be here today. Episode 315, The Big Announcement. Norwood liked his uncle. He was so happy when he heard that his uncle was coming. Harvey said something was going on at the company, so Evelyn didn't tell Harvey about Mark coming by. She told him to take the time to settle things peacefully. If she told him Mark was coming, he would probably return immediately. It was almost noon when Mark arrived. Norwood was very fond of him. The two of them were chatting, and there were many things Evelyn did not know.
I brought this necklace as a gift for you.
Mark took the necklace off his own neck and put it on Norwood. He leaned toward Norwood's ear and said,
This is a token. It can summon your uncle's old subordinates. It can be used 3 times. If your father forces you or bullies you or your mommy, you can call for help. You can ask these people of mine to do some things. My nephew is so smart, I'm sure you know what I mean.
Uncle, you are so cool.
Norwood hugged his neck and kissed him. Although his face was similar to Harvey's, Mark couldn't dislike him. Perhaps it was because he was Evelyn's child after all. After lunch, Mark talked with Norwood and Evelyn on the sofa. They chatted idly. The atmosphere was initially calm, but suddenly breaking news appeared on the television. There is breaking news that Harvey Cage of the Cage Group is getting married in 1 week. He is expected to marry Miss Evelyn Petal. The news was all over the television. Evelyn was stunned. Mark looked at her and knew that she did not know about this. Mark raised his eyebrows and couldn't help but complain. This guy likes to do this kind of thing. Shoot first and explain later. Evelyn was speechless, and her face was red with excitement. This time, she was extremely happy. She had no reason to run away anymore. She was going to marry Harvey sooner or later anyway, so it didn't matter if she married him in a week. However, this Harvey was something. Instead of telling her directly, he suddenly announced this publicly on TV. Mark looked at her shy face and took a deep breath to calm himself down. He said, "Then you should be excited to get married. I will help in any way needed to ensure you have a glorious wedding. Leave it to me." She must be very excited to get married. After all, she had waited for 2.5 years. This delay was because of Mark, and he wanted to make up for it. After chatting with Evelyn for a while, Mark left. After all, he now had a lot of work to do. He would not hesitate to do anything to make the most important woman in his life happy. Not long after Mark left, Evelyn's phone rang. When she saw Harvey calling, Evelyn smiled and picked up the phone. "Why without telling me first?" she asked. Harvey could tell from her tone that she had already seen the news. He smiled and said, "A surprise. Don't you like it?"
Aren't you afraid that I might reject you?
"If you insist on not marrying, I can force you to marry me."
Evelyn thought that this person was stubborn. If he said that he would marry, he would not hesitate to even forcefully marry her. She could feel her heart beating erratically. Harvey said again,
"Let Raquel watch Norwood tonight. Norman was so excited when he heard about Norwood. He wants to show him his toy kingdom at his house."
Evelyn thought about it and felt she had to ask her son for permission. She walked back to the sofa and asked,
"Norwood, your aunt will take you out to play tonight. Do you want to go?"
Norwood knew what Harvey was up to. He wanted to say no, but he knew it would be a big deal for his mom. Norwood nodded.
"Sure."
"You are the best." Evelyn was happy and continued to make phone calls. Norwood looked at his mommy's delighted smile and pretended to be happy. After Harvey received the information he was waiting for, he said to Zach, "Follow the plan." "No problem," Zach replied with a smile. Raquel and Norman came to pick Norwood up in the afternoon, and then someone came to change Evelyn's dress for her. Evelyn knew Harvey would stir up trouble again, so she let him do whatever he wanted. That night, someone came to pick Evelyn up, then drove her to a place Evelyn did not know. Harvey did not appear personally. Evelyn shook her head. This guy was mysterious. After passing through the neon lights, they arrived at a strange yet familiar place. Evelyn got out of the car and looked at the grass. The lights were on, and Harvey slowly walked toward her. He was wearing an elegant suit, and his cufflinks looked magnificent. He looked extremely handsome. Evelyn blinked in surprise. Harvey walked in front of her and bowed. "Beautiful woman, please follow me." This is not. Evelyn opened her mouth. "Isn't this where he proposed last time?" Harvey smiled. His devastatingly beautiful face revealed a profound grin. "Let's go. I want to make up for all the missing moments." He led Evelyn through the long corridor down which they had once walked. Everything was so familiar. The rain of roses, the wisteria corridors, the starlit pavilion, the charming sound of the violin. He invited her to dinner and a dance. The song ended, and fireworks filled the sky. Harvey knelt on one knee. "Evelyn, I love you. Please marry me." The sky lit up with fireworks that said, "Marry me." Evelyn bit her lip and tears welled up in her eyes. It was as if time had not taken anything away. These 2.5 years evaporated. It was as if nothing had happened in their lives. What Evelyn saw now was the Harvey from 2 years ago. He proposed to her and promised her happiness for the rest of his life. Evelyn nodded hard and gave an honest answer that she wanted to 2 years ago. "Yes, Harvey, I will marry you." Harvey smiled and put the ring on her finger. He held her hand tightly and said, "From now on, I will not let go of your hand. You will be mine from now on." Evelyn nodded and said with a trembling voice, "I'm sorry for making you wait for me so long." Harvey hugged her tightly and smiled. "Silly girl. It's not late at all. As long as you are by my side, nothing is too late. We have a lifetime to walk with each other. How can it be late?" Episode 316, Peace and Happiness. As long as you can come to my side, I will wait for you no matter how long it takes, because you are the single most important person in my life. Evelyn leaned against Harvey. She wished for the world to stop, to relish this moment. The person she loved was right in front of her, tied to the chain, never to separate again. "And since the wedding is next week, I have a lot of things to do this week," Harvey said as he held her and watched the fireworks. Evelyn blinked and said, "That's right. I have no experience. Tell me, what do I have to do?" "What do you mean? I'm also inexperienced in this matter." "Are you, Harvey? Don't you know anything?" Evelyn teased him. The sweet end of CEO Cage's fairy tale romance. A lifetime companion, 2 years of waiting for someone to return. The unknown girl claims her prince. Evelyn looked at the headlines in the morning and smiled. Seriously, the media is relentless. Harvey placed the jam on Norwood's toast and handed it to him. He said to Evelyn, "This time, the media was shocked. They all believed that the engagement of the CEO of the Cage Group was a delaying tactic. A few months ago, someone even bet that if I really got married, he would be marrying his right hand."
Why the right hand?
Norwood asked, taking a bite of his bread. Evelyn blushed and said to Harvey, "What are you saying in front of our child?" Norwood looked up at Harvey. Harvey said to him meaningfully, "You will know when you grow up." Norwood curled his lips. "What? Why should he wait to grow up? He already had the wisdom of an adult." After breakfast, Mark arrived. Norwood and Mark had gotten very close. Norwood rushed over to him. Harvey stood beside Evelyn and said, "What a difference in treatment. Compared to me, he treats Mark like a king." Evelyn reached out and held his hand to comfort his injured heart. "As a father, you still need to work hard." Harvey smiled and said to Evelyn, "I have something to talk to Mark about. Evelyn, take Norwood to play." Evelyn nodded. After greeting Mark, she carried Norwood and left. Norwood was reluctant to leave. Before he left, he instructed,
"Uncle, if you want to play with me again later, I will be waiting."
"Okay," Mark nodded with a smile. After Evelyn and Norwood left, Harvey and Mark sat down. Mark raised his eyebrows and said, "Though he is your son, he seems quite fond of me. It's really hard to believe that a child who looks like you doesn't really hate me." Harvey froze and frowned. "What are you so proud of? My son is still my son. My wife is still my wife. It has nothing to do with you, my brother-in-law." Mark snorted and cut to the chase. "Why did you call me here?" Harvey growled. "It's because of the check you gave me. I don't need money. Take it back." Harvey put a check worth millions on the table and pushed it in front of Mark. Mark did not accept it. He said lightly, "This is for Evelyn." "I know," Harvey said, "but I am capable enough to bear the cost of the wedding. I'm not short of money. I'll pay for the wedding dress you ordered. I've thought about it before. I want to buy her the most beautiful wedding dress anyone has ever seen," Mark said coldly. Although she wouldn't be wearing the wedding dress for him, he still wanted to buy it for her. "What kind of joke is this? Of course I will buy my wife's wedding dress. After all, she is wearing it for me to see." Harvey didn't want to allow Mark to purchase such a thing. They argued for a long time. Harvey would not accept the check. In the end, Harvey couldn't take it anymore and said, "Forget it. Just give the money to Evelyn. I won't accept it anyway. There are other things I want you to do. I hope you can bring her in on the wedding day. You are her only family, so you can give her away." Mark was startled, and his heart tightened. "This is a job I am afraid I can't do." Harvey curled his lips and said, "Even if you don't want to, you will have to accept it. I understand how you feel.
but I think she wants to take your hand and walk toward me with your blessing."
Mark slightly clenched his hands and lowered his head with a faint smile.
"Of course, I will because I am her only family."
After the two finished their discussion, Evelyn's phone rang. Evelyn looked inside the window and chatted with the person on the phone for a while. In the afternoon, Norwood fell asleep, and Mark left. Evelyn entered the room to discuss something with Harvey. "Harvey, there's something I want to talk to you about."
"What is it?" he asked.
Evelyn hesitated and said, "I want Luke to attend the wedding as my family. I have been treating him as my brother for the past 2 years. When I introduce him to the guests, I will say that he is my brother. The best man also needs to be Mark. Is that okay?" Harvey looked at Evelyn and reached out his hand to stroke her hair.
"Silly. Of course. Anything you want. Why are you so nervous? I thought it was something important. Of course, I was going to formally invite him tonight."
"Really? Are you planning to poison his food?" Evelyn asked. Harvey couldn't help but smile after being mocked by her.
"A little, but—"
He leaned closer to her and pressed his head against hers. He looked at her seriously and said,
"I have learned from you to try and understand people more. Luke was the one who took care of you when I was away for more than 2 years. I am very grateful to him. Besides, they are all disappointed people. I am the winner in life, so there is no reason to be vengeful."
Harvey knew very well that both Luke and Mark were good to Evelyn. Both of them were qualified to fight with him over Evelyn. But in the end, he won. So he should be tolerant. Evelyn hugged him and murmured sweetly, "Harvey, you are so nice. You are becoming more and more gentle." Harvey also hugged her back and replied gently,
"I will try to be more gentle to you than I am today."
Harvey's words touched Evelyn's heart. The two of them looked at each other and their breathing became rapid. Suddenly, Norwood's soft voice sounded.
"Mommy."
Evelyn's face suddenly turned red. She stood up and looked at Norwood. Harvey held his forehead in disbelief at the interruption. He seriously suspected that this child was deliberately stirring up trouble. On the other side, Evelyn had already picked Norwood up. Seeing Harvey's tightly knitted brows, Evelyn winked at him and mouthed a silent message. "I will come see you tonight." Harvey watched her carry Norwood away, followed by the golden retriever. He smiled gently. This was the so-called peace and happiness. Episode 317, The Wedding. On the wedding day, all of New York City seemed to be celebrating a grand festival. Many hot air balloons floated in the sky. Under the orchestra's lead, the parade of cars passed bustling streets. The fluttering rose petals made the entire city immerse itself in the festivities of this grand wedding. The makeup artist finished her makeup, and Evelyn put on her wedding dress and walked out. The day before the wedding, the bride and groom were not allowed to see each other. Evelyn wanted to get married in her family's tradition, so she would not allow this rule to be broken. It was 8 o'clock in the morning when they arrived at the church. Evelyn was so nervous that her heart was about to leap out of her chest. Norwood, wearing a little tuxedo, walked through the crowd and saw Evelyn in her wedding dress. He opened his eyes wide and said,
"Mommy, you look so beautiful today."
Evelyn leaned over, kissed him, and said, "Today, Mommy and Daddy are getting married. You promised me to do something. Don't forget it." Norwood gave her a thumbs up and said,
"Don't worry, Mommy. I won't forget,"
and ran out again. Evelyn took a deep breath and looked at herself in the mirror. She was wearing a white fishtail wedding dress. 3,000 diamonds were embedded into the detailed lace across her chest. She had never been prideful, but at this moment, she had no choice but to boast that she looked gorgeous. Her veil draped over her eyes, and a tiara adorned her hair. Evelyn smiled. "I look like a princess." Harvey himself designed the tiara and had her name engraved on it. Evelyn couldn't take her eyes off it. She couldn't help but sigh. It was such a pity that he didn't become a fashion designer. Mrs. Cage, someone sent this over. The makeup assistant appeared in the dressing room and handed her a gift box. Evelyn was curious. Who sent it? It was a gentleman with very handsome features, the assistant said. Evelyn was a bit puzzled. She opened the box, trying to guess who had sent it, and inside was a dolphin crystal necklace. Evelyn's heart skipped a beat. She knew who it was. Timothy. A name that was both distant and unforgettable. She took out the slip of paper, and there was only one sentence. I wish you happiness. She had matured over the years. She was no longer an ignorant girl, and she knew he had not lost his memories of her. It was very likely that he had lied to her on purpose. However, even if she found out later, she could only let nature take its course. She and Timothy were destined to have nothing to do with each other. Thank you, Evelyn murmured. She asked someone to keep the gift aside for her. It was good to receive such sentimental gifts on a day like that. When it was almost 9:30, everything was ready, and Evelyn walked down the stairs. At the bottom of the stairs stood two handsome men in black suits. It was Luke and Mark. Looking at her in her wedding dress, they both stood with violent beating hearts. That kind of painful and touching feeling was hard to describe. Luke felt like his throat was choking and his heart was tightening. Tears were almost flowing out of his eyes. He looked at her in awe and wanted to tell her that he could give her a lifetime of happiness until her hair was white. He wanted to say how deeply he loved her, but he knew those weren't the right things to say. All he could do was wish her a lifetime of happiness with Harvey. He knew that her happiness, future, and even the end of her life belonged to someone else. Seeing her walk down, Luke and Mark both stretched out their arms. Evelyn held their arms as she said in a choked voice, Thank you for accompanying me. We wouldn't let anyone else do it, Luke said. Mark held her hand tightly and could not say a word. He was afraid that the festive atmosphere would be swept away if he opened his mouth. Evelyn also understood and tightly held his hand. Along the way, music filled the air. It was like the wedding of a prince and princess in a fairy tale. The streets were filled with laughter and shouts. Harvey arrived a little early. In the church, there were only family members. Harvey was a bit nervous and hesitant. Norman straightened his bow tie and smiled. Cousin, I never thought there would ever be a time when you would be nervous. Raquel laughed by the side. Stop talking nonsense. No matter how powerful he is, this is the first time he is getting married. It's natural to be nervous. Harvey looked at the time and took a deep breath. Soon after, the priest arrived. Norwood took the ring, and the band started to play. The church was filled with rose petals. As they waited anxiously, the church door was pushed open, and the wedding march began to play. Evelyn walked towards Harvey with Luke and Mark. The three of them stood in front of him. Luke held Evelyn's hand and said to Harvey, I hope you can take good care of her. If you mistreat her, I will come and snatch her away. Harvey smiled. I won't give you the chance. Mark placed his other hand on Harvey's. This is the biggest compromise of my life. I hope you will love her and protect her for the rest of your life. Otherwise, I will not let you off easily. Harvey nodded. He took Evelyn's hand and said seriously, Don't worry. I will always treat her well. Mark nodded and took a step back. The ceremony officially began. Evelyn and Harvey swore their vows in front of the priest and exchanged rings and kisses. Amidst the applause and flower petals, Harvey hugged her and said, This time you are finally mine. You can't escape now. Evelyn smiled shyly. Of course not. Norwood suddenly ran over and pulled Harvey down. Harvey leaned down, and Norwood quickly kissed him on the cheek.
You are now my daddy.
Harvey's eyes lit up. He picked him up and said, Thank you, my son, for your approval. He held Evelyn's hand in one hand and Norwood's in the other. Harvey felt like all the happiness of his life was by his side. Harvey leaned over to Evelyn and kissed her gently. Evelyn,
I love you. Thank you for coming to my side.
Harvey, this is what I wanted to say to you. Don't steal my lines.